Hello everyone, and welcome to today's exciting exploration. Have you ever wondered if the numbers that surround us could be more than just random digits or simple mathematical concepts? What if these numbers held deeper meanings, influencing our lives in ways we don't fully understand? Today, we're diving into a fascinating subject that bridges the worlds of spirituality, numerology, and philosophy. The lucky numbers for November 22nd, 2024. At first glance, numbers may seem like nothing more than cold, hard symbols used for calculations or measurements. But in Buddhist philosophy and many Eastern spiritual traditions, numbers are far from mere abstractions. They hold profound significance and are often seen as key players in shaping our lives. They are seen as divine signs, mysterious markers that guide us on our spiritual paths, and powerful energies that can influence our destinies. From the sacred symmetry of the universe to the deep inner workings of our own consciousness, numbers are intricately woven into the fabric of existence. We are all familiar with the saying, "Everything happens for a reason," but have you ever considered that perhaps the reason is encoded in the numbers you encounter every day? Imagine that the numbers you interact with are not just mere coincidences, but are cosmic clues guiding you toward a higher purpose. Think about the moments in your life when a certain number kept reappearing, or when a specific number felt lucky to you. Was that merely a coincidence, or could there be something more to it? Now, let's take a closer look at November 22nd, 2024, a date that, according to numerology and Buddhist teachings, carries a unique resonance. It's a day filled with potential, waiting to be unlocked. But what does this day hold in store for us? Which numbers will emerge as the most powerful for you on this specific day? Could these numbers offer you a glimpse into the future or provide guidance in making important decisions? Let's explore this together. Before we dive into the specific lucky numbers for this date, let's take a step back and reflect on the deeper significance of numbers in Eastern spirituality, especially within the context of Buddhism. In Buddhist teachings, everything in the universe operates in harmony with certain cosmic principles, and numbers are one of the most significant representations of this harmony. Just like the physical world is governed by laws of nature, our minds and spirits are also governed by the deeper laws of the universe. In Buddhism, we learn that by understanding these laws and aligning ourselves with them, we can find peace, wisdom, and ultimately, enlightenment. The number 4, for example, is one of the most important and sacred numbers in Buddhist philosophy. It is directly related to the Four Noble Truths, which are the foundation of Buddhist teaching. These truths, suffering, its cause, the cessation of suffering, and the path leading to its cessation are not just abstract concepts. They are deeply woven into the very fabric of our existence. The number 4 symbolizes balance, stability, and the eternal cycle of life, death, and rebirth. It's a reminder that everything in life is connected, and that peace and wisdom come from embracing these truths. Similarly, the number 8 holds immense significance in Buddhism. It represents the Noble Eightfold Path, which outlines the practical steps we must take to end suffering and reach enlightenment. These 8 principles, right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration, serve as a guide for those seeking to live a righteous, peaceful, and mindful life. The number 8 symbolizes wholeness and completeness, and it encourages us to take the necessary steps to align ourselves with the higher truth of the universe. So, as we approach November 22nd, 2024, we can already start to sense that the numbers of this day are special. But how do these ancient teachings relate to the numbers we'll focus on today? What hidden meanings are encoded within the numbers of this specific date? Let's consider the date itself, November 22nd, 2024. When we break down this date numerologically, we find a rich combination of energies, each contributing something unique. The number 22, for example, is often considered a master number in numerology, symbolizing mastery, spiritual insight, and the potential for great achievements. The number 22 is a number of visionaries, builders, and leaders. It represents the ability to bring dreams into reality through hard work, determination, and faith. It's a number of immense power, suggesting that November 22nd could be a day where new opportunities arise, where your actions could lead to great accomplishments, and where the universe is offering you a chance to manifest your deepest desires. But there's more to this date than just 22. When we add together the digits of the year, 2024, we get the number 8. 2 plus 0 plus 2 plus 4 is equal to 8. As we mentioned earlier, 8 is the number of completeness and the path to enlightenment. It's a reminder that spiritual growth is a journey, and that every step we take brings us closer to wholeness. For those seeking personal growth or spiritual awakening, November 22nd, 2024, is a day filled with potential to make significant strides along that path. Now, as we explore the lucky numbers for this day, we're not just looking at random digits. We're examining the hidden messages within these numbers. These numbers are not just for good luck. They are the keys to understanding deeper truths about ourselves and the world around us. So, what do these numbers have to tell you? How will they influence your journey on November 22nd, 2024? Will they guide you toward making the right decisions, or offer insights into areas of your life that require attention? Today, we'll uncover the answers to these questions and more, helping you understand how you can align yourself with the cosmic energies of this special day. As we explore these lucky numbers and their meanings, remember that luck isn't just about chance. It's about being in tune with the universe, aligning yourself with its rhythms, and embracing the opportunities it presents. November 22nd, 2024 is not just another day on the calendar. It's a day of transformation, of growth, and of alignment. The numbers we'll uncover today will help you unlock the potential of this powerful day. So, let's dive in and see which numbers will bring you good fortune on November 22nd, 2024. Are you ready to explore the spiritual significance of these numbers and how they can impact your life? Let's begin. As we delve deeper into the relationship between numbers and Buddhist philosophy, it's essential to understand how ancient teachings intertwine with the natural world, bringing together wisdom and the observable universe. Numbers, in Buddhism and many other spiritual traditions, are not mere arbitrary labels, but carry profound significance that can guide us toward greater enlightenment. They offer insight into the workings of the cosmos and help us interpret the human experience in ways that transcend the material world. So, how do these timeless teachings about numbers relate to the lucky numbers for November 22nd, 2024? And how can they help us gain insight into our own lives? Let's explore further. To understand the depth of Buddhist teachings, we must begin with one of the most fundamental numbers in the Buddhist tradition, the number 4. The number 4 holds immense significance in Buddhism, primarily because of its relationship to the Four Noble Truths, which lie at the heart of the Buddha's teachings. These Four Noble Truths are the foundation of the entire Buddhist path, an essential framework for understanding the nature of life, suffering, and the path toward liberation. The Four Noble Truths, as taught by the Buddha, are as follows. Suffering, dukkha. The first noble truth is the recognition that suffering is an inevitable part of human existence. This includes the obvious forms of suffering, such as pain, illness, aging, and death, but also the more subtle forms of suffering that arise from unfulfilled desires, dissatisfaction, and attachment. The Buddha teaches us that life, in its essence, is filled with dukkha, a Sanskrit term that encompasses all forms of discontent, whether physical, emotional, or spiritual. The cause of suffering, samadaya. The second noble truth explains that suffering is not random. It arises due to our cravings, attachments, and ignorance. We cling to things that are impermanent, believing they will bring us lasting happiness. This attachment and desire for control lead us into cycles of suffering, because nothing in this world is truly permanent. The cessation of suffering, nirodha. The third noble truth offers hope. It tells us that suffering can indeed be overcome. By letting go of our attachments and desires, we can bring an end to suffering and attain a state of peace, nirvana, a place of ultimate freedom and enlightenment. The path leading to the cessation of suffering, Magga, the fourth noble truth, outlines the Noble Eightfold Path, a series of practices and principles designed to help us break free from the cycle of suffering. These 8 practices provide a clear roadmap for achieving enlightenment and transcending the limitations of worldly existence. The number 4, therefore, is much more than a mere digit. It represents the structure of life itself, how suffering arises, how it can be extinguished, and how the path toward freedom can be attained. The 4 noble truths form the core of the Buddha's message, offering a powerful framework to understand the human condition and guiding us toward liberation. In the context of November 22nd, 2024, this number invites us to reflect on our own lives and the suffering we may experience. It encourages us to acknowledge that, while suffering is a universal aspect of the human experience, it need not define our lives. By understanding the root causes of suffering, our desires, attachments, and ignorance, we can begin to free ourselves from its grasp. If the number 4 represents the foundation of Buddhist philosophy, the number 8 is equally significant, as it relates to the Noble Eightfold Path, a central teaching in Buddhism that guides us toward enlightenment. The number 8, often associated with completeness, balance, and transformation, represents the means by which we can transcend suffering and cultivate a life of wisdom, compassion, and inner peace. The Eightfold Path consists of 8 practices, each designed to guide us toward a more enlightened existence. Right understanding, Samaditha. This is the ability to see the world as it truly is, understanding the impermanence of all things and the nature of suffering. Right understanding allows us to see through the illusion of self and realize the interconnectedness of all beings. Right intention, Samma Sankappa. This involves cultivating thoughts that are free from ill will, hatred, or greed. Right intention is about developing a compassionate and selfless attitude toward others and the world around us. Right speech, Samma Vaka. Our words have immense power. Right speech encourages us to speak truthfully, kindly, and helpfully, avoiding lies, gossip, or harsh speech that can cause harm to others. Right action, Samma Kamanta. Right action focuses on living ethically, avoiding actions that cause harm to others, and promoting peace, kindness, and respect in all aspects of life. Right livelihood, Samma Ajiva. This principle encourages us to engage in work that is ethical, non-harmful, and conducive to the well-being of others. It reminds us that our livelihoods should not exploit or harm others. Right effort, Samma Vayama. Right effort involves cultivating a disciplined and committed approach to spiritual practice, striving to develop wholesome qualities while eliminating negative tendencies like greed, hatred, and ignorance. Right mindfulness, Sammasati. Mindfulness is the practice of being fully present in each moment, without judgment or attachment. It helps us observe our thoughts, emotions, and actions, bringing clarity and awareness to every aspect of our lives. Right concentration, Samma Samadhi. Right concentration is the cultivation of deep mental focus, often through meditation, which allows us to quiet the mind and achieve states of inner peace and insight. The number 8 in this context represents the journey of transformation, a path towards spiritual maturity and wisdom. It is a reminder that enlightenment is not a single event but a process, a series of steps that require dedication, effort, and practice. The number 8 encapsulates the idea of wholeness, as it contains a balance of elements that guide us toward a complete understanding of ourselves and the world around us. On November 22nd, 2024, we can take inspiration from the Noble Eightfold Path as a guide for our personal growth. By reflecting on how we embody these 8 practices in our daily lives, we can transform our suffering into wisdom, our ignorance into understanding, and our fear into courage. The number 8 encourages us to step onto the path of mindfulness, ethical living, and spiritual awareness, which leads to true freedom and enlightenment. As we transition from exploring the profound relationship between numbers and Buddhist philosophy, We now turn our attention to the specific numbers that are most relevant to November 22nd, 2024. These numbers, while appearing on the surface to be arbitrary, are, in fact, deeply intertwined with spiritual principles that guide us toward a more balanced and enlightened life. Just as we discussed the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path, today's numbers can offer us practical insights, aligning our actions with the natural flow of the universe. So, what lucky numbers should we focus on today? And how do they connect with the deeper currents of spiritual wisdom? Let's break down these numbers and uncover their significance. The number 2 is an essential number that has deep roots in Buddhist philosophy, especially in its relationship to duality. In Buddhism, duality represents the coexistence of opposites, such as birth and death, suffering and happiness, or light and dark. These opposing forces are not seen as enemies but as complementary aspects of the same existence, interwoven and inseparable. The Buddha's teachings often emphasize the interdependence of all things. Nothing exists in isolation. Just as day and night follow each other in an eternal cycle, suffering and joy are inseparable aspects of our lives. In this light, number 2 serves as a reminder of this balance. It calls us to embrace the dualities of life rather than resist them. Our tendency is often to focus on one side of the spectrum, seeking only happiness, for example, or trying to escape suffering. But true spiritual wisdom, as the Buddha taught, lies in acknowledging both sides and finding harmony between them. This understanding fosters inner peace, as it allows us to accept life as it is and transcend the need to control it. On November 22nd, 2024, the energy of number 2 encourages us to cultivate balance in our own lives. Are there areas where we are too attached to one outcome, ignoring the inherent balance that the universe offers? Whether it's in our personal relationships, our work-life balance, or our spiritual practice, this number nudges us to acknowledge the dual nature of our existence and find peace in its inherent harmony. Reflecting on duality can help us embrace life more fully, understanding that both happiness and suffering are transient, and we must learn to navigate them with grace and wisdom. The number 4 is already familiar to us from our earlier discussion of the Four Noble Truths, the foundational principles of Buddhism. As we reflect on this number today, it serves as a powerful reminder to revisit the core teachings of the Buddha and their application in our own lives. The Four Noble Truths are not abstract concepts but practical truths that we can incorporate into our daily existence. They help us understand the root causes of suffering and offer a clear path toward overcoming it. Suffering, dukkha. This first truth invites us to acknowledge that suffering is a fundamental part of life. Whether it's physical pain, emotional turmoil, or existential dissatisfaction, we all experience suffering. But rather than avoiding it, Buddhism teaches us to face suffering directly, understanding its nature. The cause of suffering, samadaya. The second truth teaches us that suffering arises from our attachments and desires. We cling to people, possessions, and experiences, believing they will bring us happiness. But because all things are impermanent, our attachments ultimately lead to suffering. The cessation of suffering, nirodha. The third noble truth reveals that suffering can be overcome. By releasing our attachments and desires, we can experience freedom and peace. The path to the cessation of suffering, magga. The fourth truth presents the Noble Eightfold Path, which provides a practical guide for ending suffering. By cultivating right understanding, right speech, right action, and other aspects of the path, we can transcend the cycle of suffering and live a life of wisdom and compassion. The number 4 is a symbolic representation of the Four Noble Truths, reminding us that the Buddha's teachings are not just theoretical, but guideposts for practical, spiritual living. On November 22nd, 2024, the presence of number 4 encourages us to reflect on these teachings and apply them in our own lives. Are we acknowledging the suffering in our lives? Are we investigating its causes and working toward cessation? This number urges us to take action, to not only think about the path to freedom but to actively walk it. The number 4's association with the Four Noble Truths calls us back to the fundamental teachings of Buddhism, grounding us in the present moment and helping us recognize that we have the power to overcome suffering through mindfulness, compassion, and wisdom. Moving forward, we come to the number 8, a number that has profound spiritual significance in Buddhism. As we discussed earlier, the Noble Eightfold Path is the guide to spiritual awakening and freedom from suffering. It is a pathway to enlightenment, a state where one is free from the ignorance, desire, and attachment that bind us to the cycle of suffering, samsara. The Noble Eightfold Path consists of right understanding, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, right concentration. These 8 practices form the essence of Buddhist ethics, meditation, and wisdom. The number 8 represents the process of spiritual transformation. Each step brings us closer to liberation and insight. When we walk this path, we purify our minds and hearts, ultimately attaining the clarity and peace of nirvana. On November 22nd, 2024, the appearance of the number 8 invites us to reflect on our spiritual journey. Are we actively practicing the principles of the Eightfold Path in our daily lives? The presence of the number 8 today serves as a reminder to cultivate right understanding and right intention, to engage in right action and right livelihood, and to deepen our meditation practice through right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. This number offers a practical roadmap for anyone seeking spiritual growth and enlightenment. Whether you're new to Buddhist teachings or have been practicing for years, the number 8 calls you to commit to your path with greater sincerity and dedication. Finally, let's explore the number 22, a number that stands for cooperation, teamwork, and the completion of great tasks. In numerology, 22 is considered a master number, symbolizing the ability to turn dreams into reality. It is a number of vision, leadership, and accomplishment, often associated with those who have the ability to build something of lasting value, whether on a personal or collective level. In Buddhism, cooperation is a central principle. The path to enlightenment is not meant to be walked alone. We rely on the support and guidance of others, whether through the teachings of the Buddha, the council of fellow practitioners, or the Sangha, the community of like-minded individuals. Cooperation is a vital aspect of spiritual practice, as we recognize that we are not isolated beings but interconnected with the entire web of existence. On November 22nd, 2024, the energy of the number 22 encourages us to focus on collaboration and accomplishment. Are there dreams or goals that you've been hesitant to pursue? The presence of this number suggests that now is the time to take action and work together with others toward a common purpose. Whether in your personal life, career, or spiritual practice, the number 22 reminds you that cooperation leads to success and accomplishment. This is a day to take concrete steps toward realizing your ambitions, knowing that you are not alone on this journey. As we reach the end of our exploration into the lucky numbers for November 22nd, 2024, and the spiritual significance they hold, it is fitting that we close with a reflection on a concept that holds a deep and universal appeal: wealth. Whether we're talking about material wealth or the kind of spiritual richness that Buddhism teaches us to cultivate, wealth plays a significant role in our lives. But what does it truly mean to be rich? And how do the teachings of Buddhism illuminate our path to true prosperity? In the modern world, wealth is often equated with material success, the acquisition of possessions, financial abundance, and a comfortable lifestyle. From the cars we drive to the homes we live in, from the brands we wear to the experiences we indulge in, wealth is often measured by tangible goods and visible markers of success. However, if we delve deeper into the Buddhist perspective on wealth, we begin to see that the accumulation of material wealth is only one facet of the picture. Buddhism teaches that the true measure of wealth is not found in material possessions, but in the richness of the mind and spirit. According to the Buddha, the highest form of prosperity is not financial but spiritual, rooted in qualities such as wisdom, compassion, equanimity, and mindfulness. These are the true treasures that elevate the human experience, offering lasting peace and fulfillment that cannot be bought or lost. When we speak of spiritual wealth, we refer to the ability to experience life with a deep sense of purpose and inner contentment. This wealth does not depend on external circumstances, but on how we approach life with understanding and balance. A person who is spiritually rich does not rely on wealth as a means of measuring their worth or happiness. Instead, they find joy in the simple things: a peaceful mind, harmonious relationships, compassionate heart, and a sense of gratitude for the present moment. The number 2, as we discussed earlier, reminds us of the importance of balance, finding equilibrium between the material and spiritual aspects of life. It teaches us that while it is not wrong to seek material success, it is crucial that we do not become attached to it. True prosperity arises when we are able to enjoy the benefits of the material world without allowing them to define our sense of self or worth. From a Buddhist perspective, material wealth is not inherently bad, but it can become a source of suffering if we develop an unhealthy attachment to it. The Buddha spoke often about the dangers of attachment, explaining that our desire for material possessions and status creates a cycle of craving and dissatisfaction. We may acquire wealth, but if we are not careful, it can quickly become a source of anxiety, fear of losing it, the constant desire for more, or the frustration of not being able to control it. Instead of avoiding material wealth altogether, Buddhism encourages us to approach it with mindful awareness. The key is to see wealth as a tool, a resource that can be used for good. The Buddha's teachings on generosity, dana, highlight the importance of giving and sharing, especially when one is fortunate enough to have an abundance. True wealth, in this sense, is not about hoarding or accumulating, but about using what we have to benefit others and contribute to the well-being of the world. Whether through charity, kindness, or supporting causes that align with our values, wealth can be a force for positive change when used with compassion and mindfulness. Number 4, which symbolizes the 4 noble truths, reminds us that wealth, in whatever form it takes, should not be our source of happiness. Rather, happiness arises from understanding the nature of suffering and realizing that the things we cling to, whether wealth, relationships, or success, are impermanent. In letting go of attachment, we free ourselves from the anxiety that often accompanies the pursuit of material gain. Wealth becomes less of a goal and more of a byproduct of living a life aligned with Buddhist principles. Perhaps the most profound teaching Buddhism offers on wealth is the concept of contentment. It is said that contentment is the greatest wealth. When we are content with what we have, when we cultivate a mind of gratitude and appreciation, we discover a wealth that cannot be quantified by money. This form of wealth transcends the external world and taps into the deepest parts of the human spirit. True contentment comes when we realize that happiness does not lie in the accumulation of things, but in the quality of our experiences and the depth of our relationships. A person who is content is rich, regardless of how much they possess, because their wealth lies in their ability to find joy in the present moment, to appreciate the beauty of life as it is, and to cultivate peace within themselves. Buddhism teaches that the path to true prosperity is through the purification of the mind, by cultivating mindfulness, letting go of greed, and living with simplicity. The number 8, symbolizing the Noble Eightfold Path, invites us to practice right understanding, right intention, right speech, and so on, which all lead to the cultivation of true inner wealth. Through these practices, we not only free ourselves from suffering but also discover a wealth that is not dependent on external conditions, but on the richness of our internal state. Another important aspect of wealth in Buddhism is the concept of generosity, dana. Buddhism teaches that the more we give, the more we receive, though not in a material sense, but in terms of spiritual abundance. Generosity is one of the paramithas, or perfection qualities, that lead us to enlightenment. When we give without expectation of return, we cultivate a sense of inner abundance, a wealth of compassion, kindness, and goodwill. On November 22nd, 2024, the presence of the number 22, which stands for cooperation and accomplishment, encourages us to think about how we can use our own resources, whether material or spiritual, to help others. True wealth is about building connections, supporting the community, and working together to achieve something greater than individual success. In this sense, the number 22 reminds us that prosperity is not only about what we can acquire, but also about what we can contribute to the collective good. When we cooperate with others in kindness and generosity, we create an abundance of positive energy that flows through our lives and the lives of those around us. This wealth is infinitely more valuable than material possessions because it enriches our souls and transforms the world. As we reflect on the spiritual wisdom embedded in the lucky numbers of November 22nd, 2024, we come to understand that true wealth is not defined by the material things we possess, but by the depth of our spiritual practice, the quality of our relationships, and the peace we cultivate within ourselves. The Buddhist teachings encourage us to seek a wealth that transcends the transient nature of material possessions and to recognize that happiness and fulfillment come from the mind, not from the world outside. As you move forward, remember that you are already rich not in the things you have, but in the wisdom, compassion, and contentment you cultivate each day, whether you are seeking to build material wealth or looking for spiritual growth. Know that the truest form of prosperity is rooted in a heart of generosity, a mind of peace, and a life of balance. May the numbers of today guide you toward a life of lasting abundance, not just in what you own, but in who you are and how you choose to live. May you discover the wealth of wisdom, peace, and love that lies within, and may it inspire you to share this abundance with others, creating a ripple effect of prosperity in the world.